Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your patience. It's unprecedented attendance tonight, so thank you. I'm Maria. I'm not a comic. I'm Maria. I'm the executive director at the newly formed nonprofit, the Southampton Playhouse. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you tonight to the Odyssey in IMAX, the way that Christopher Nolan intended it to be experienced at our beloved Playhouse. I also want to invite you, if you haven't, be part of our story. Become a member or give a donation. I can sit and talk to you about the various opportunities. My colleague Eric Cohen, who couldn't be with us tonight, but has done an exceptional job putting together a series of elevated experiences that begin tonight. Don't worry, we won't have trailers, and I'll be brief. We are excited to be joined by Stony Brook professors L.B. Thompson and Stephen Aubry, both literary experts. They will sit and talk a little bit about the film from that lens. Tomorrow, we will have IMAX CEO Richard Galfond. He will introduce the 5 p.m. and talk a little bit about the making of the film. And on the 25th, we will have Q&A with actor Benny Safdie. Don't worry, you won't miss any of these conversations because you can go on YouTube and catch them all. And now, please join me in welcoming L.B. Thompson and Stephen Aubry. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Are we excited for this movie? Yeah, so I am L.B. Thompson.
And I'm Stephen Aubry.
And we're here from the Creative Writing, Television, and Film Department at Stony Brook University, where we both teach, and we have a lot of fun.
We do.
We do. I don't know, literary expert seems... that's pressure, huh?
We're experts on something.
Right. Well, and we're here really to talk about the poem, that this film is based on. So to begin, I wanted to just introduce both the way the poem is structured and something that we can look for in the film, and a way for us to focus our attention together, which is the element of setting. So if we think about where we are right now in Southampton, in this 501c3 playhouse where there's no profit being made, it's just come and enjoy the arts. We're nourished by the fishes in our seas and land that grows grapes. We've got it good here. So that's where we are. That's our landscape shot. We want to say, since this is going to be an exploration of the roots of where we are and in literature and where we are in languages, that this place where we sit was the place of the Shinnecock and the Settlecott people, and we're here on their land, enjoying the arts together. So that's setting. Every stanza or every new book of the Odyssey opens with a wide landscape shot, and I'm looking forward to seeing what some of those are like in the film. But we want to get into the juicy stuff because we don't have very much time. So we got to go into for character, and I want to ask Stephen about character and the way that Homer introduces our hero in the very beginning of the poem.
So in the ancient Greek of the Odyssey, there is one word in the first line that every translator argues about how to translate. That word is polytropos, and that is the first adjective that is used to describe Odysseus.
Will you please say that word one more time?
Polytropos. Good word. And you can usually learn a lot about how a translator is looking at the poem by looking at how they just translate that first line. It's one of the notable keys to what the translation is going to be. And it's one of my favorite things to just compare across translations. So Elby and I have brought in two of the best-known translations of the Odyssey, the Fagles, and which is sort of the classic modern translation, and the Emily Wilson, which is the sort of the new, I want to know what the Odyssey is about. What translation should I read? This is sort of the new answer. And the difference between the two, I think, is very telling for how two different people look at Odysseus, who is a character who has a lot of wonderful virtues. This is the guy who came up with the Trojan horse, and a lot of problems, as this movie will almost certainly demonstrate. When you wander around for 20 years, you get into trouble, and you don't always make the best decisions. So if we even just
That
look...
was a good summary.
Yeah. The Odyssey is sometimes like mess around and find out. Truly. Odysseus's greatest trick is tricking the Cyclops by saying, "I'm nobody," and then immediately afterwards telling him his real name. Good work, good work. But if we look at just the first line of the Emily Wilson, the way she translated it is she says, "Tell me about a complicated man." So polytropos to her is complicated. Whereas in the Fagles...
In the Fagles, we have, "Sing to me of the man, Muse, the man of twists and turns."
So is Odysseus a man of twists and turns? Is he a crafty, wily person, or is he, in more modern parlance, complicated? The way I read that, too, is not even complicated in that he is a multifaceted, complex character, but someone who creates complications, someone who creates problems everywhere he goes.
A troublemaker, one
could say. A troublemaker, a
say.
mischief maker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I like to go in for character because, like, when we're reading books with our students, the goal is for the students to write something from their own imagination and what they've learned from reading. So we're reading in a more exploratory way, and we're absolutely using our hearts. So what happens when we get together to talk about an old Greek book? So I was like, "Well, what happened with you when you read it this time?" And Stephen said,
Well, what I said was, so I'm a recent parent. I have a 1-year-old at home, and I'll say today it was really interesting to leave the house this afternoon while my wife was holding our infant in her arms, and there's a wild storm going on outside, and saying, "Honey, the movie's pretty long, and I'm not sure when I'm going to be home tonight, so don't wait up for me." But to me, true story. But to me, there is this time reading it around, there is just there was a strong link between the stories of Odysseus, the father who's been absent for 20 years, and Telemachus, the young man who's grown up never knowing his father. And I don't know that I read it that strongly that way before I was a new parent, but that's what's so wonderful about texts like the Odyssey, which is, we should also mention, was originally told orally. It was not written down. It was something that people memorized and spoke aloud. And when you have this kind of oral storytelling where you've learned the story by listening to it, and then it's your turn to tell the story, we have a poem that's that reflects, this is what my parents thought were true, this is what I think is true, and this is what my children will think is true. And that kind of mutability, I think, is at the heart of what's so compelling about all Homeric epic. And then for you, reading this.
And then for me reading this, well, I mean, I'm sitting next to you, so I'm going to be thinking about fathers and sons as well, and I love that as a kind of framing. I'm thinking about the character as someone who's been traumatized. Stephen made this brilliant summary of the Iliad, the book where our hero has been tormented. Give us your summary of the Iliad, please.
Oh, I don't know that I remember what I said about that one. I I know you're reaching for some clever thing I said earlier
He
today. and I can't
said,
remember.
it's guys hitting each other with sticks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Iliad is largely the story of men hitting each other with sticks and why they don't hit each other with sticks. And the Odyssey is the story of someone who, after hitting someone with sticks for 10 years, takes a while to come home and see his wife and son again. Which, there's something very modern about that as well.
True.
About how he's not ready. There's obviously gods getting in the way, but Odysseus needs to be ready to come home before he can come home in the poem.
Well said. We're ready for questions from the audience.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions? How about some young folks studying this now? Anybody?
Yeah, so the question was the Iliad was the Iliad originally sung? And yes, the Iliad and the Odyssey. These poems date to a time before writing. Once the Greeks invented writing, which someone had to invent, they wrote it down, but there are countless generations of stories that we have received as Greek texts that were songs. And if you read the poem, the landscapes that LB was talking about that most of these chapters start with are mnemonic devices. They're ways to remember how the song starts. And so we're seeing the Odyssey on a big screen that's behind me right now, but it's not that dissimilar from how an ancient Greek audience would go to a hall and someone would sing the song for a couple hours, and they would enjoy it that way. And so there's a wonderful return to that form here.
I love that you mentioned the oral tradition because it requires people to be together in peaceful assembly. And you can't
absolutely.
pass down your songs and stories and use your imaginations together if you don't get together in person like we're able to do here at this place. So that's great. We had a question that came in advance, and we've pondered it a bit. Should we let that be the last question?
Perfect.
Right.
So I can pull up the question, and then you can hazard an answer at it. But
Response, perhaps.
a response, yes. The question was, and so this is, by the way, this is referencing the end of the Odyssey. So cover your ears if you don't want to know what happens at the end. Objections. More people, I think, don't know the end of the Odyssey than I thought. Oh, we're not going to. Maybe we won't spoil the end of the Odyssey. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
We had
Thank you for
things to say
calling that
about
out.
gender too. Like, should we do a gender question? Anybody else? Anybody got a question? Yes.
There's a question right there. Because it was why do we call it a poem instead of maybe a song?
It is a poem. It is a particular kind of poem that's an epic poem. So it tells a story. It's narrative. What's amazing about this is that it survived to give us this big book. Most of what we have are little crumbs that you have to really use your imagination to understand. So it's a poem. It's
It's
it
in
had
meter.
been set to music. It's in
Yeah.
meter. It's been known and carried. It has all the qualities of poetry, but it's a story with steamy stuff and all kinds of special effects too. Spectacle, as Aristotle called it. Okay, we're ready for the movie,
All right.
right?
Enjoy.